All right, let's bring in Mark Mix. We couldn't get his camera. Mark Mix, president of the Right to Work Committee nationally. Mark, thanks for joining us. We have you by phone. Sorry you couldn't get your camera to work. We're live in Iowa. Chris and I and Tamara Scott with us. She is the National Committee Republican National Committee woman from Iowa. I got that right? I finally got it out. And of course, Chris Saxman with us. Saxman and I have been fighting to keep Right to Work since the day we met 15 years ago. Yeah. So we're very cogent here on this.
We're not opposed to unions and union jobs, but just don't force someone to join a union.
We love unions. Yeah. I mean, I'm the biggest union guy on conservative radio in the country. Right. But this thing that's going on in Virginia, this public bargaining for state and local workers down to the janitors, it's insane, Mark.
Yeah, indeed. In fact, in the state of Iowa, they're trying to reform the bargaining laws they have there because they went down this road and they're trying to get back. I was talking with the state senator yesterday about a recertification bill out in Iowa, about a payroll deduction bill out in Iowa, some of the things they're doing there. Because the states that have tried this, John and Chris, and John, are you running for president? Is that why you're in Iowa? Or what have you did I miss something? Or Chris, are you running for president? Because you two have been champions of the issue of right to work, and I appreciate that. But, yeah, so Virginia is heading down a path that California and Illinois and New York have gone down and found that it's been extremely damaging to their fiscal solvency. In fact, in Virginia, we have had a prohibition against bargaining signed by the Democrat governor, Doug Wilder, back in 1993, but yet this is Scott Soroville, the Senate president, who's saying he's got to add 700,000 new members to the Service Employees International Union, and anyone who follows that union knows they are a political monster. And this is about politics, it's about power. The Commonwealth takes care of its employees, and so it's really a major power grab by organized labor, and the Commonwealth of Virginia is going the wrong direction on this road for sure.
You know, in your op-ed and some of the things I read, this can cost, just take Virginia for a second, then we'll get to Iowa where we am today. This can cost a taxpayer in Virginia up to $3,000 in increased taxes because everything goes up. These guys ran on affordability, and all they're doing is everything to raise your taxes and the cost of living. Explain how that works, Mark Mix.
Yeah, it's real simple. We've got a great case study in Richmond. Back in 2021, Glenn Northam signed a bill that allowed for optional bargaining for localities that wanted to try it. And the data coming in from Richmond, there's only 20 localities in Virginia that have done it so far, of the 133, the 95 counties and the, I think, 38 cities, independent cities that have their own kind of structural government. This would mandate it across the board and say you would be doing it. And in Richmond, for example, the pay raises in Richmond vary from 5% to 38% over the last 4 years. And so, John, I don't know where you can give someone a 38% pay raise and not have an increased cost of government. And the other part of this is something that gets left out of the equation is the spillover effect. When unions negotiate these higher wages up to 38% in the city of Richmond, what do the supervisors and the administrators say about it? Well, my goodness, these workers are making this much money and I'm in charge of them, I'm managing them. So the spillover effect says that all the cost of government goes up. Look at the school system, the government school system, and you see the best case study for the argument against giving union officials more power over government institutions.
So, I mean, how do we get this message out? Because the Democrats, like Chris said, this is about power. They don't care about the taxes. They don't care about the increased cost. They want just the power of having the unions, getting the money in, so they can then give them back. So they can't ever lose. I mean, that's basically what this is, at the expense of people trying to make a living. I don't even get where's the outrage here, Staxman?
Yeah, well, there should be, and this is, again, to your point about affordability, this is the actual antithesis of that. This is the opposite of affordability. This is going to dramatically increase the cost of government in Virginia, and taxes are going to go up. You have the Democrat school board chairman in Prince William County saying, quote, this will bankrupt towns and cities. I mean, he's in favor of bargaining, but he says mandating it and counties. I mean, only 14 counties and localities have reported in the fiscal report on this bill and I think they're already talking about an additional cost of $400 million. I mean, these are just 14 of the 133 localities that will now be subject to bargaining. And the pay raises and talking about 10% pay raises for employees. I mean, again, look at Illinois. This is where it's going. They're going to have binding arbitration where a third party will come in and say, okay, I see what you want, I see what you want, here's what you're going to give. This worked in Iowa. Governor Terry Branstad, going back to when Branstad was the governor, Iowa had binding arbitration, and the legislature passed a bill that said you had to increase government pay. I forget what the number was, but Branstad said, I'm not going to do it. And it went to the Iowa Supreme Court, and the Iowa Supreme Court said, guess what? You're going to do it. And the only solution to that was raising taxes because of the binding arbitration piece in this bill. They're going to try to water it down. The bill got out of the Senate Finance Committee last night. They did pull out the home health care providers that were part of that. They were going to unionize them like they did in Illinois back under Rob Blagojevich back in, I forget what year that was, 2002 or something like that. But they pulled that out. They made it a study committee. But this bill will be on the House floor next Monday. And that's House Bill 1263. And the Senate bill is in the Finance Committee. Like I said, it passed out last night. It will probably be on the floor because we're getting to that funnel date, that crossover date when legislation has to move. But this is a serious fight, John. I mean, your leadership on the Right to Work bill, organizing and mobilizing people, has paid off there. Chris, your work has too. I think the Right to Work bill, we're going to be safe on the Right to Work issue when it comes to Virginia. And I say I think because I don't know, because things happen in legislative process that we sometimes are unpredictable. But this is the main power. The Senate President, Scott Somerville, said we're going to deliver these people to the Service Employees International Union, and everyone should be frightened about that.
It's nuts. It's crazy. And for everybody out there, if you're in Virginia and you want to weigh in, we'll get to Iowa in a second. You want to weigh in, let me tell you where to go right now. We make everything easy for you. Just go to Virginia, spell it out, VirginiaRightToWork.com. VirginiaRightToWork.com. Fill the petition out there. Say you don't want this because it is going to bankrupt this state. But of course, the Democrats don't care. And it has nothing to do with affordability. It's about their power. VirginiaRightToWork.com. Fill the petition out. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to send it immediately to whatever your address is. We're going to send it to your House of Delegates member. Boom. Then we're going to send it to your state senator. Boom. Then we're going to send it to Spamberger. Boom. So it's all going out. All you got to do, action, action, action. Talk is cheap. VirginiaRightToWork.com. Spell out Virginia. VirginiaRightToWork.com. And you're good to go. Okay. Mark Mix with us. We're going to take a phone call. Larry in Iowa, line 1. Larry, you're with the Iowa gang. Go ahead.
Good morning. Yes, I'd like to talk a little bit about education, what we've had back here in Iowa. The previous generation before me, a lot of them went to a one-room schoolhouse. And we had a fantastic education back at that time. When my father-in-law passed away, we found through some of his papers, and we found some of the tests that he had to take in this one-room schoolhouse. And I would guess that a lot of college people with degrees would not be able to pass that test. We have tried to improve education in Iowa, so we've streamlined everything. You know, we consolidated schools. Back then, we didn't have taxes paying for those one-room schools. The parents covered all those costs themselves. Now we've got all kinds of property taxes that are increasing so fast that our wages can't keep up with the property taxes. People are losing their homes just trying to pay property taxes. It's worse than paying the house payment. We've got an organization out here, the education organization, that I think is kind of taken over the schools. I was talking to a friend yesterday. Her daughter works for this association, and you know that's where the speech pathologists and all these different specialties come from.
Right.
When back in the old day, you know, we had a teacher that took care of all that.
Right.
We have people now that take care of what they learn, decide what books. It used to be we had a superintendent, a principal, and then we had the teachers.
All right, Tamir, you want to comment on Larry here, basically, tying this whole thing back to education, and then, of course, Iowa's also has an issue with collective bargaining for public employees. You want to tie that up for us, Tamira?
So on the education, I mean, we all know that education has suffered lately in the last several decades. It's something we'd all like to see corrected. We did pass some ESA so that people could find help with Christian schools, private schools, home schools, however they wanted to do it. That helped a lot of students get out of ailing public schools. On the collective bargaining, I think that there is something coming up at the legislature, but I don't know that it's going to pass. I think it's an attempt to come back at it. We got this corrected. Your guest mentioned Branstad when he was in office this last time. I think, got the public union issue corrected. So I don't know if that's what they're saying is coming back.
Yeah. So, Larry, thank you for the call. Appreciate your weighing in. Let's get back to Mark. Get to Iowa. Where are we? Why are they trying to bring this back in Iowa, Mark?
Well, they're not. They reformed what's called Chapter 20 out in Iowa, and Terry Branstad did a lot to fight it. And in 2017, they passed a recertification bill for unions, saying that employees had to vote again whether or not they wanted to be in the union. So Iowa's been working correctly in the right direction. But there's a bill right now, I forget what the bill number is, of Senator Adrian Dickey has a bill out there right now that is going to be a powerful tool to kind of fight back against union power in Iowa. There is a professional educators group in Iowa that is providing services to teachers. And I just have to say to the caller that was just on the line, John, I mean, I looked at one of those tests too, and I'm embarrassed to say that, yeah, they were tough, and they were a lot tougher than the test I took, that's for sure. So Iowa's doing the right thing. They're heading in the right direction. Iowa's been heading in the right direction. And again, this is another example of states that have gone down this road. They're coming back. Think Scott Walker and Act 10 up in Wisconsin. I mean, Scott Walker literally based his entire political career on reforming a bargaining system, which was the first in the country for state employees, for state government employees, back in 1959. He now estimates, well, not he, but think tanks in Wisconsin estimate that because he had the courage to stand up and fight the government unions and reform this bargaining process up there. He didn't get rid of it, unfortunately. He should have, and I think maybe if you asked him today, he would want to. But they have saved over $30 billion in Wisconsin, according to studies that show the decreased cost in government from just reforming how you're negotiating over public sector employment or government sector employment. And so there's still work to be done. But again, Iowa's on the reform road, Tennessee's on the reform road, Arkansas. I mean, states that have looked at it and have tried it are trying to roll back from it, and yet Virginia is heading headlong, and states like Iowa who've seen the implication of it. I talked about the Branstad example of the binding arbitration. That binding arbitration clause is in the bill right now in Virginia, and it says, a third party will decide how a government is going to pay their employees or what conditions they're going to work under. It's a mistake, and it's a mistake that has proven itself again in state after state, and we're rolling back from it. John, you and I have talked about the President Trump trying to reform the executive branch under Article 2, signing an executive order that basically withdraws the union power to negotiate terms and conditions of employment for federal government employees that have a national security profile. The unions have gone crazy over that. They're filing lawsuits against him. In Virginia, they're trying to keep it quiet, what they're doing here, but this is basically a union takeover of the Commonwealth's government. And again, states like Iowa have looked at it and said, we got to go back the other direction, but not Virginia.
You're right, Mark. You absolutely nailed it. And Chris Saxman, this thing, I mean, they ran, if you look at Virginia, it was so, I mean, it just makes you crazy. The Democrats ran on this affordability hoax. I'm not saying that affordability is a hoax. Their campaign was a complete scam because they ran on affordability. They get there, they win all these seats, they get Spanberger in, and every single bill that is on the docket right now is going to cost people more money. Taxes are going up, collective bargaining, whatever. Everything is going to get more expensive, and they're doing the exact opposite of what they said. The hypocrisy is beyond the pale, and now they're trying to get the money in collective bargaining so that they can stay in power. I mean, that's basically what they're doing. Unbelievable.
To Mark's point, they keep passing bills that don't work in other states, and they go, well, this is in other states. We kind of go, well,
they didn't work.
It sucks over there. They're doing it wrong. They don't want to pass paid medical leave at the state level. That creates this new entitlement program. And one of the talking points the patron comes up with when she presents the bills, like 13 other states are doing this, and I'm like, 37 don't. Because it's stupid. You're creating an entitlement that's going to be rife with fraud. And,
oh, my God.
And it's going to cause all this conflict in the workplace, and you're like, because we care about helping other people with other people's money. I'm just like, stop. you know, we have real problems to solve, and you're making it literally less affordable. And you ran on affordability. I'm like, okay, well, we'll just go back to the public and see what they say. But,
Insane.
It's like saying we just haven't tried communism and made it work yet.
Right,
We just haven't done it right yet.
All right, listen, Mark Mix, I want to thank you. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for what you're doing. And again, if you want to fight this in Virginia, got the same thing going on here in Iowa. Just go to Virginia, spell it out, Virginia Right to Work. That's with an R, not a W. This is not writing something. VirginiaRightToWork.com and fill the petition out there, and we will take it from there. Virginia Right to
one of
Work.
the most scurrilous things about this whole conversation is that Democrats go out there and say this goes back to Jim Crow. This was about racial, and it's actually the complete opposite. Unions kept black people out of the workforce.
Unbelievable.
Right, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. I mean, again, there's the hypocrisy meter is basically broken on this when it comes to that argument. There were, yeah, John, you and I talked about it. Not to belabor it, but it's go look up a case called Louisville Nashville Railroad versus Steel, 1944, United States Supreme Court. You'll find out everything you need to know about how unions used their power to discriminate against black workers. You'll find it there.
All right, Mark.
That one has to get out in Virginia because the Democrats are using it, and that has to be out there in plain English. And I think it's
Time for another Mark Makes op-ed on that one subject. I'll run it in the Virginia Star.
tell
Mark,
them to send out the poll.
yeah. Oh, Mark, send out the poll. We got a poll. We got a Iowa straw poll. Send it out to everybody. We got 11 candidates. You can rank them. You can get the Iowa straw poll. It's virtual on our site. Just go to johnfredericksradio.com. It's there. Mark, send it out. Participate in it today. We want to know your thoughts.
That should be their,
And it's anonymous.
Well, it should be your admission charge to get on your show.
You got to do the poll.
Well, yeah, are you on the bus, Chris? Are you on the bus? That's where you are. What do you have to do to get on the bus? I mean, that's the other issue.
I don't want to talk about what I had to give up to do this.
All right, I got to go, John.
Next
Thanks,
time we'll get Mark Makes.
Mark, I'm not proud.
We'll take